So for me, most golfers slice or fade the ball and really struggle making the changes. But I'm going to talk about a mid-handicapper that I'm working with who has gone from a very weak glancing blow slice into a lovely powerful draw with a couple of very simple thoughts and feels that just might take your ball striking and your distance to a whole nother level. So, the people I'm talking about, when he came to see me, kind of pretty good setup, had lots and lots of coaching, but when he made his swing, we saw a ball that curved from left to right like that. And to be fair, those numbers at the bottom aren't a million miles off what he was doing. Now, I'm actually going to pop his numbers up from his very first session and have a look at why he was slicing the ball like he was. So we could see club head speed at 73.5 mile an hour, but his path 12 degrees out to in, club face 8.6 degrees open, carrying 117 and rolling out to 124. Then we go to the last session, and these are his numbers with the same 7-iron. So very similar club head speed at 74 mile an hour, 2 degrees from the inside, club face 2 degrees closed, 155 carry and 172 rollout. Now I know what you're thinking, that is an incredible change. And not just in distance, but where he feels he can now aim in order to get the ball in play. So the two things we needed to fix, and it was in this order we did it, and this is where a lot of golfers struggle, I think. So what we noticed was, obviously at impact, his club face was pointing way over to the right. So the way he would try and get the ball to get back to target is he'd swing massively over the top. And like we've seen with my numbers there, glancy blow, high cut. Now the coaching he'd worked on in the past, he'd worked really hard on trying to get him swinging more from the inside, dropping the club down. But like we explained, the problem with that is if you manage to do that, the ball sets off very close to where the club face points, so it sets off right and still slices even further out to the right. So it's actually a worse golf shot from trying to fix the path first. So the first thing we said is we needed to fix what he was doing with that club face through impact. And we spoke about a couple of ideas, and actually a really great feeling for him is he plays with his watch on. And we said, I want you to think about, not necessarily in the downswing, but how we can maybe thinking of something on the follow through that's going to change what you do through impact. So we made him kind of slowly make his swing and come through. And what we noticed is his watch face would be looking very much up to the sky. So what we said is we want to try and feel that we're going to get that watch strap and that watch face down to the ground. I mean, that would be really excessive, but that's the feel we wanted. And initially, as he did it, we started to see the path was still excessive. The club face was less open. But even though he felt he was really doing it, he said, I obviously can't be exaggerating it enough, can I? So it took a few swings, but eventually we got him to hit a couple where he felt hugely excessive. And for the first time, we saw that club face as a minus number, which is closed, and instantly the distance picked up. And it was interesting for him. He said not only did the distance picked up, but the strike felt so much more powerful. Because when we get that club face coming in and it's a glancing blow, we're not really compressing the ball. Whereas as that club face is a bit more closed, we compress the ball and get energy from the club head into the ball better. But as we can see, that shot there didn't necessarily help because that would miss left, whereas the other one kind of got in play a lot of the time. So we didn't make both of these changes in one lesson. So what we said was, if we can get that feel of getting the watch down and the ball's now going to curve left, instead of setting up perfectly straight, we're now actually going to aim down the right and try and get that feel with the watch. And then obviously we started seeing that club face nice and closed. We saw the path was now from the inside, and we saw a very, very playable shot. Now, before anyone comments, the reason the path looked different was just his body alignment was different relative to the ball's target line. So we weren't actually making him think about path. It was just get the club face working correctly to begin with, and then we can start getting the ball in play. So he had a few games, felt good, hit a lot of good quality shots, but felt like he didn't want to be aiming over there in case he didn't get it right, which I completely understand. So once he'd become a little bit more proficient with that feel, we said, right, okay, now we need to change the path of the club. And actually the way we spoke about it was just use the big hoop. And we said most golfers, or every golfer gets the club moving in that circular motion around the body, but think that their circle's very straight. Now his circle was obviously going to the left because it was compensating for that club face, but it was also becoming a bit of a pattern for him. So even with club face better, we were still seeing that. So I said, I don't want you to think about positions. I just simply want you to think on the downswing of drawing your circle as far to the right as possible. And it was interesting because we did a couple of practice swings, and his first couple, and obviously you can't tell your eyes, just looked very, very straight. So he said, no, more exaggerated. And he went, but that feels like I won't hit the ball. It actually feels like that if I'm going to do that, feels like I'm going to bottom out back here. So I said, look, don't worry about that. Just do what you need to do. And we weren't so much thinking about what he was doing with his watch anymore because he was actually doing that a bit more naturally. So we aimed nice and straight, set up, thought about really drawing that circle as much to the right as possible. And his very first shot was like that. And honestly, it's potentially the most excited I've ever seen a golfer when they hit one shot. He kind of went, I've been trying for that all my life, all my golfing life, and I'm not really overthinking about the golf swing. He said, obviously I can feel this bit a lot better now. He said, but then drawing that over to the right just feels so alien. But I think sometimes when we can think of the golf swing as a whole movement, it's easy to make changes. So then we said, right, let's do it even more exaggerated. And we saw the ball setting off right of target, curving to the left. And he said, so that feels really, really exaggerated. If I wanted to not exaggerate it as much, is that something I can do? I said, look, when you practice it, it's worth experimenting with feels, but we've got the visual of drawing the circle over to the right and letting that club face close and release a little bit more. And again, he stood up. And even with the little miss strikes, we started seeing the ball curving from right to left, but the ability to set the ball off on a better line. Club face is still closed, as we can see there, but because that circle was now more to the right, he was able to aim straighter and get the ball in play. Now, as a final note, one thing he also noticed is when he was swinging very, very left, he tended to move the bottom part of his golf swing a long way forward. So if I swing very left here, you can see where I hit the ground. So he did struggle a little bit with kind of fins and topping sometimes. And as he swung more to the right, as I showed before, he was worried about bottoming out. He didn't. His low point was just after the golf ball. So not only did he shape it better and hit it further, but he also hit it higher, which gave him more control and ability to land the ball and stop the ball on the green. So if you are a fader or a slicer of the golf ball, rewatch this video. Absolutely those two key areas, but it's got to be club face first, then the path or the direction of the circle can change. And if you can do those two things together, you absolutely will start hitting little baby draws and some of the best shots you've ever hit.